Good evening. Welcome to the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. It is day 2 in our 6th year of reading aloud, and we are so glad that you have joined us. And we want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. And here at the International Great Black Read Aloud Day, what we call TIGBRAD, we read for educational purposes to help provide to bring authors to light. We're here giving words written, giving voice to words written by Black people all around the world. And so today is our subject is loss, grief, and transformation. And so because it is this is the month of love. It's Valentine's. Valentine's Day is this month. All around the world, people celebrate Valentine's Day. Well, tonight our loss, grief, and transition is going to be from the subject of loving, what it means, and a little bit of insight. And so we've got something good. This author makes a return to our list. This is R.H. Sen, the poet. And so he returns to our list again with his book, Anywho, I Love You. And it is written by R.H. Samantha King Holmes, R.H. Sen, and Graham Holmes. And this is Sen's introduction. Falling in love after you've had your heart destroyed by someone you believe loved you makes it increasingly difficult to trust again. You meet a person, you develop feelings for them, and you're once again faced with this decision of putting the foundation of your future into new hands, hoping that it all turns out the way you imagined. I think it's important to remember that even while you find heartache familiar, and even though you've been hurt several times before, that person in front of you is not the person who hurt you. It takes a wild type of courage to love again when everything you've loved has turned to dust. But you mustn't allow the past to take hold and dictate your future. This is something I learned over time. There are lessons in heartache, and even though it hurts, pain can be a stairway to something better. You just have to utilize the experience of betrayal to identify the red flags and warning signs. Think about it for a second. You are heavily experienced in the realm of mistreatment and distrust, and so you know exactly what to look for when looking for the person to spend your life with. Love doesn't come easy. For some of us, we'll find that we have to fall for the wrong people just to figure out what is right. The love you deserve, the romance you long for, is often hidden behind all those people who intend to waste your time. And so that means you must navigate through halls of heartbreak in order to discover a version of love that will encourage you to feel whole. That pathway to love also begins with self. The way you treat yourself is a template for the way others treat you. Practicing self love will save you the trouble of settling in relationships that distract you from cultivating love and a peace of mind. Self love is also the cure after the breakup, the elixir that will keep you sane in preparation for new experiences and adventures on the path leading to your soulmate. Most relationships are lessons on what isn't love. And it's only after you're done hurting that you come to a realization that the person who broke your heart was never worthy of an emotional reaction. The suffering is not love. Waking up each day struggling to get out of bed, fighting to keep your eyes open is not love. Those moments when you're made to feel like your sadness or pain is an inconvenience are not love. The hours you go on fighting to get through the day while dealing with bouts of loneliness, even as that person sits beside you, aren't love. The days when you think of leaving and staying feels like settling are not love. So often you stay only because you fear you're losing something. But that person who forces you to deal with their emotional absence or lack of effort is not a loss. That individual who makes you feel guilty for feeling anything at all is not a loss. Your partner who seems to be playing on the opposite team or refuses to cooperate in a way that promotes peacefulness and progression is not a loss. Relationships worthy of your energy do not pose the type of difficulty that keeps happiness and tranquility at a distance. A relationship worthy of your devotion will not stand in the way of self love and healing. There were moments in my life when the person I was with became a distraction. a roadblock between myself and the path I knew I should take. And it's only after you get through that roadblock that you find yourself closer to a love that actually feels true. Real love is rare. It's not easy to find because it doesn't sit on the surface. It is embedded deep away from eyes, only to be felt and experienced like no other. And as hard as it may be, you will have to surpass all the people standing in the way of everything you deserve. Each breakup, each heartbreak, and several people you believe you loved will need to be left behind for the sake of discovering someone worthy of all that you have to offer. In my own life, I learned to grasp the concept of moving on and the rewards in letting go. It didn't come easy. My war torn heart has seen many battles, and I'll be honest, at times I felt I'd lost. But as time would teach me, most of the people you meet will not be capable of providing whatever you need that will encourage your heart to keep beating for them. And at some point, you're going to have to learn that your heart is always yours, no matter how often you've given it away. You will eventually return to yourself. You will somehow find a way back home. And when you get there, you'll have a wealth of knowledge about what to avoid going further. The biggest lessons in love come from the people who aren't brave enough to be honest with your heart. And those lessons can be utilized as stepping stones across the waters of true love. That is from our selection from today, which is Anywho, I Love You by R.H. Samantha, King Holmes, and Graham Holmes. And so we're going to read another selection for this, and these are a mix of essays and poems. And he's a very good and insightful writer, and we've had, as I said earlier, we've had him on our list a couple of times simply because of he always seems to feel that he's got something that resonates with us. Um, let's read. Let's read Internal Talk 1. I think real love looks different for everyone, but at the core of any loving relationship is kindness, patience, transparency, and devotion. Too often the heart falls for someone who is prepared to care for it because many of us love in an attempt to fill a void rather than to add to what joy and peace we've already cultivated. Sure enough, a person can enter your life and change it in a way that makes you feel whole. But giving this type of power to someone who turns out to be the wrong person can leave you depleted to the point in which your idea of love is altered in a negative way. Love yourself before you search for love in someone else. A lesson I needed to learn in my own life. Um, Sometimes in loss and grief and transition, it has to do with our families. Sometimes you feel like you've lost some relationships along with your family. Sometimes you may feel that you need to depart in order to discover more about yourself. And so here is one called Internal Talk 4. Sometimes you have to break up with your family so that you can create the type of family you've always wanted. There's always this fear accompanied by an impending sense of regret. It's scary to think that you will lose the ones who know you best. But then again, there is this need to detach from the people who have forced you to lose yourself beneath the weight of their neglect, lack of appreciation, and constant judgment. My families can't be like that, can they? I found more of me, the parts I had hidden just to satisfy the ones who should have loved me unconditionally. Swept under beds and rugs, made a secret to those who had no intention of ever respecting my feelings and ideas, who knew my freedom would live in their absence. So much joy kept from me for the sake of staying connected, only to figure out that the happiness I'd been searching for resided in the opposite direction of the people I thought I needed. And our last selection has to deal with transition, and it's from Samantha King Holmes. People are always going to have their opinions. You don't have to adopt them or weave their doubt into your self esteem. It is better to have tried versus deciding not to act because someone projected their lack of belief onto you. And we have one more from Samantha King Holmes. Um, yes. Okay. And this is one that deals with it deals with love, but it's also the transitions and things that we just feel when we are in relationships. And these can be family relationships. These can be friendships. But you always want that person there, right? On the days when my words are sour, you lean into grace. In the moments when I am cold, aloof, you lean into understanding. The times when I am not my best, you lean into compassion. You always lean in, not away. Steadfast in your commitment, you always lean in toward me. This has been our selection today for loss, grief, and transition. We've taken a little different direction. Normally, we deal maybe like with things with what do we do when death occurs or when we're dealing with grief due to death and transitioning. But loss, grief, and transition happens in many ways in our lives. It could be loss of a job, the grief at for something that happened that we weren't expecting. So loss, grief, and transition occur all the time in our lives, in small ways and large ways. And at the end of the day, you still have to say, anywho, I love you. And you got to say it to yourself, anywho, I love you. And we hope you have enjoyed our selection today on loss, grief, and transition. And remember that sometimes moving on, it takes discernment to know whether it's time to go or you should stay, right? And so you can't be moved by feelings because feelings change. They are real, but they change. And so um, it takes discernment to know whether it's time to depart and realize it's not a loss, it's a lesson, as one leadership teacher teaches. Get the L, get the lesson. And so um, we hope that you have enjoyed today and realize that even in love, there are always new opportunities to grow, to transform and transition from places of loss and grief, right? So we'll see you tomorrow for day 3 of the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. And tomorrow is our memoir day. And so we have a wonderful selection for you tomorrow. And we'll be back tomorrow pretty much about the same time. We're trying to do everything a little earlier. Some nights we're pretty late there for a couple of years. So we'll be back tomorrow around the same time for day 3 of the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. And we hope you have enjoyed our selection today, which has been Anywho, I Love You by Samantha King Holmes, R.H. Sin, and Graham Holmes. Bye bye. Have a good night.